Good morning. Guess what day it is? It's June 12th. Today is National Jerky Day. I'm going to tell you some things about beef jerky. This comes from an article by Sarah Bianchetti. The process of making beef jerky can be simplified into 5 key steps: slicing, marinating, laying, cooking, and packaging. Beef jerky is made out of beef, of course, liquid ingredients and dry ingredients. So it has the liquid ingredients are things like soy sauce, Worcestershire sauce, teriyaki sauce, and others. The dry ingredients are things like salt, pepper, garlic, smoked paprika, onion powder, and other things. So, first step, slicing the beef jerky. No matter the cut of beef, it's important to start with a lean cut. Before the meat is sliced for jerky, all visible fat needs to be trimmed. The meat is sliced against the grain, which helps break down the natural fibers of the meat. This creates the optimal chew and bite. An insider's tip for slicing steps is to temper it or partially freeze the meat. This makes it easier to create slices of equal length. The second step of beef jerky is a combination of dry spices and liquid ingredients are mixed with the sliced meat. A sufficient amount of time needs to be allocated to make sure that the marinade not only covers the meat, but also permeates the fibers of the meat. As a general rule of thumb, the longer time allowed for marinating, the deeper and more nuanced the level of flavor. There's definitely a point of diminishing returns. They recommend that it be 30 minutes to up to 24 hours. The third step is laying the beef jerky. Each individual piece of sliced marinated jerky is laid by hand. This is a critical step as the pieces must be evenly spaced on a single layer and gently dropped onto the screen to ensure that the full batch of jerky cooks evenly. There's no shortcuts or tricks when it comes to this step, they say. The best and quickest way is to just do it by hand. The fourth step in making the jerky is cooking and drying. Low and slow is the secret. In most cases, 2 steps of cooking and drying are completed at the same time, but there's a small but important distinction. Cooking ensures that the beef jerky reaches an acceptable temperature where all pathogens and bacteria are killed. When the internal temperature of the meat hits a minimum of 160 degrees, the jerky is fully cooked and ready to eat. Drying guarantees that the jerky is dried and shelf stable. When the water activity of the beef is under an acceptable threshold, it becomes shelf stable and does not require special handling or refrigeration. Depending on the thickness of the meat, beef jerky needs to cook 2.5 to up to 8 hours. And the final step, of course, is to package the jerky. So basically, beef jerky is extremely dried out meat. It makes me think of a story of deception found in Joshua chapter 9, verses 3 through 8 and 12 and 13. As the children of Israel began to conquer the land of Canaan, their reputation went before them. The people of the land were afraid of being killed by the advancing army. The Gibeonites devised a plan to deceive Joshua. They pretended that they were a people from far away to get Joshua to make a treaty with them. Listen. But when the inhabitants of Gibeon heard what Joshua had done to Jericho and Ai, they worked craftily and went and pretended to be ambassadors. And they took old sacks on their donkeys, old wineskins, torn and mended, old and patched sandals on their feet, and old garments on themselves, and all the bread of their provision was dry and moldy. And they went to Joshua to the camp at Gilgal, and said to him and to the men of Israel, We have come from a far country. Now therefore make a covenant with us. Then the men of Israel said to the Hivites, Perhaps you dwell among us, so how can we make a covenant with you? But they said to Joshua, We are your servants. And Joshua said to them, Who are you and where do you come from? And then later on in the chapter it says that they said, This bread of ours we took hot for our provision from our houses on the day we departed to come to you. But now look, it's dry and moldy. And these wineskins which we feel were new, and see they are torn. And these our garments and our sandals have become old because of the very long journey. So finally Joshua found out the truth, but it was too late. He had already made the treaty, and he would not go back on his word. If only he had consulted God first. So often we find ourselves in bad situations because we run ahead with our plans and forget to ask God what we should do. Today, if you have a decision to make, take time to ask God before you proceed. He knows whether you are being deceived by dried out old bread or whether you're hearing the truth.